You're being lied to. Not by the media, not by your friends, by your own brain. Every single day, your mind twists reality, not to hurt you, but to protect you, to comfort you, to keep your illusion of control intact. From the way you remember the past, to the way you judge other people, to the way you sabotage your own future, your brain is not showing you the truth. It's showing you what's convenient. What if your confidence is fake? What if your regrets are fake? What if you are fake? The truth is, your brain isn't built for truth. It's built for survival, for comfort, and for shortcuts. That's why it filters reality, edits memories, and feeds you stories that aren't always real, but feel right. So in the next few minutes, we're going to expose the 20 most common lies your brain tells you every single day, and how they silently shape your thoughts, your beliefs, and your reality. Let's start with the most dangerous one of all, the lie that makes you feel right even when you're completely wrong. 1. Confirmation bias. Your brain is not a seeker of truth. It's a storyteller, and confirmation bias is the story it loves most. Imagine you're in a courtroom, but your brain isn't the judge. It's the defense lawyer, and your beliefs are the client. No matter what evidence enters the room, your brain's job is to protect the narrative it already believes. This is confirmation bias. It makes you blind to disconfirming evidence and obsessed with agreement. It turns the internet into a mirror, not a window. You scroll past facts, science, or opinions that challenge you, not because they're false, but because they feel wrong. And the deeper you hold a belief, the harder your brain works to keep it safe. You start thinking your side is the only logical one. You begin to pity, or even resent, those who disagree, not because they're wrong, but because your brain can't tolerate the discomfort of being unsure. That's why people with the most confidence are often the least informed. Not because they know more, but because they've built a fortress of validation around ignorance. The truth is rarely found in what you already believe. It lives in the questions you're afraid to ask. 2. Self-serving bias. Your brain has a talent, a quiet trick it plays in the background. When things go well, it whispers, "That was you." When things fall apart, it says, "That wasn't your fault." This is the self-serving bias, and it's one of the most soothing lies your mind tells. It makes your victories feel earned, and your failures feel unfair. It wraps your ego in bubble wrap and hands blame to the world around you. Didn't get the job? The interviewer was biased. Got dumped? They weren't mature enough. You lost control? They pushed you. The self-serving bias protects your self-image, but at a cost. Because if you never own your failures, you never learn. If you're always the hero, you never become one. Growth requires responsibility, and responsibility requires you to admit you're not just the victim. You're also the problem. 3. Dunning-Kruger effect. There's a strange pattern in the human mind. The less you know about something, the more confident you feel. It's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. And it's the reason beginners speak with certainty, while experts speak with caution. When you first encounter a new topic, psychology, business, even politics, you feel empowered. You've read a few articles, maybe watched a TED Talk, and now you're ready to teach the world. But what you don't see is the mountain behind the hill. You're standing on a peak of illusion, unaware of how far the landscape truly stretches. Real understanding humbles you. It makes you question your conclusions. It teaches you that things are rarely black or white. They're messy, layered, and often unresolved. But your brain craves simplicity. It wants the feeling of control, even if it's an illusion. So it inflates your confidence while shrinking your awareness. This bias is dangerous, not just for you, but for everyone you influence. Because loud confidence is contagious. It drowns out wiser, quieter voices. And it tricks people into mistaking volume for vision. The antidote: curiosity, humility, and the willingness to say, "I don't know enough to be sure." 4. Projection. There's a kind of psychological magic we all perform, but we don't notice it. It happens when something uncomfortable rises inside us: anger, shame, jealousy, insecurity. And instead of facing it, we throw it onto someone else. That's projection. It's when your mind takes your unwanted feelings and assigns them to the people around you. You feel insecure, so you call someone arrogant. You feel guilty, so you accuse someone of judging you. You feel attraction, so you label the other person inappropriate. Projection isn't about truth. It's about relief. It lets you keep believing you're good, balanced, and in control by outsourcing your darkness. But then, the things you can't stand in other people are often the shadows you've buried in yourself. Projection is how we avoid the mirror. It's how we keep the ego clean, even if the soul is messy. But what would happen if you stopped? What if the next time someone bothered you, you asked, "What part of me am I trying not to see?" That's when healing begins. 5. Illusory superiority. This one is subtle, but powerful. It's the voice inside your head that says, "Sure, people are flawed, but not me." It's the belief that you're a better driver than most, smarter than average, more moral, more aware, more awake. It feels harmless, even motivating. But it's a trap. Illusory superiority is the brain's way of protecting self-worth by exaggerating your place in the world. And because everyone does this, we all end up walking around thinking we're the exception. You forgive your mistakes, but judge others for theirs. You see your flaws as complexity and others' flaws as character defects. You believe your perspective is the clearest because, after all, you're not like them. But superiority is an illusion built on distance. And distance kills empathy. The truth is, you are not better. You are not worse. You are exactly as human as everyone else, just in different ways. And the day you stop trying to prove you're above average is the day you start becoming real. These ego lies are comforting. They protect your sense of identity, but they also keep you stuck in a version of yourself that may not be true. Now let's go further, because not all lies are about ego. Some are about safety, about comfort, about keeping you in your mental comfort zone, even when that zone is a cage. Let's talk about the lies your brain tells you to keep you from changing. These lies aren't meant to hurt you. They're designed to protect you. But in doing so, they shrink you. They're the lies that build a cozy cage and convince you it's freedom. 1. Negativity bias. Your brain is a survival machine. And for survival, bad news is more useful than good news. Thousands of years ago, noticing the rustle in the bushes could save your life. Missing the beauty of the sunset? Not so much. And so your brain evolved to prioritize fear, threat, and danger, even if they're tiny, even if they're not real. That's negativity bias. It's why you remember insults more than compliments. Why one negative comment ruins your whole day, even if you got 10 positive ones. It's why your mind fixates on what could go wrong instead of what might go right. Negativity bias was designed to protect you. But now it just paralyzes you. Because when you see life through a threat-colored lens, you start avoiding opportunities, relationships, even joy, just in case they hurt. You stop living to grow and start living not to fall apart. But the truth is, avoiding pain is not the same as living well. And sometimes, the risk you fear most is the one that sets you free. 2. Sunk cost fallacy. You've probably felt it. That voice in your head saying, "I've already come this far. I can't walk away now." Whether it's a failing relationship, a dying business, or a career that drains you, your brain resists letting go. This is the sunk cost fallacy. It's the lie that past investment should justify future misery. Your time, your energy, your identity, they become anchors. And instead of asking, "What's right for me now?" you ask, "How can I make the past worth it?" But life doesn't refund your time. It doesn't reward suffering just because you endured it. Staying in a story that's breaking you, just to prove you didn't waste your time, is how you waste even more of it. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit that what got you here can't take you further. 3. Groupthink. Humans are tribal. Your brain evolved to crave belonging because isolation used to mean death. But in the modern world, that instinct turns into something more dangerous: groupthink. It's the silent pressure to conform, to nod when you want to question, to agree when something feels wrong, to stay quiet, even when your values scream. Groupthink isn't always loud. Sometimes it shows up in who you follow, what you repost, what you don't say at work, how you hide your curiosity just to fit in. Because challenging the group feels risky. It threatens your status, your connection, your safety. But there's a cost. You lose your edge, your truth, your ability to think independently. You become a mirror of the tribe, not a reflection of yourself. And worst of all, you start to forget that you ever disagreed in the first place. True thinking, original, courageous, unfiltered thought, requires you to risk rejection, but it also gives you back your voice. 4. Just world hypothesis. We want the world to be fair. Our brains crave it, not because it's true, but because the alternative is terrifying. So when we see injustice, we look for a reason. When someone suffers, we assume they must have deserved it. This is the just world hypothesis, the belief that life gives people what they earn. It sounds noble, but it's often a form of denial. It helps us sleep at night, but it numbs our empathy. A homeless person must have made bad choices. A victim should have seen it coming. A failed life, they just didn't try hard enough. Because if the world is fair, then we don't have to feel uncomfortable. We don't have to get involved. We don't have to accept that sometimes terrible things happen to good people. The just world bias comforts you, but it can also make you cruel. Real maturity means holding this paradox, that sometimes effort leads to success, and sometimes it doesn't. That pain doesn't always have a lesson, and that the world isn't always fair, but you can choose to be. 5. Fear of missing out, FOMO. Every time you scroll, your brain is flooded with possibilities. Trips you didn't take, parties you weren't invited to, lives that look shinier than yours. And deep inside, something whispers, you're behind. You're missing something. You should be doing more. That's FOMO, the fear of missing out. But beneath it is something deeper, the fear that your life isn't enough. FOMO tricks you into overcommitting, overthinking, and never fully enjoying the moment you're in, because you're too busy chasing the ones you're not. But here's the truth your brain doesn't want you to hear. There will always be something you're not doing. Someone more successful. A party you didn't go to. A version of your life that exists only in fantasy. But life isn't lived in possibility. It's lived in presence. FOMO isn't cured by doing more. It's cured by choosing with intention and letting go of the rest. You don't need more options. You need more alignment. What if I told you that you don't see the world as it is? You see it as your brain allows you to. Your eyes don't see the truth. Your ears don't hear it. And your mind? It doesn't interpret reality. It constructs it. This is one of the most uncomfortable realizations in psychology. You're not a passive observer of the world. You're an editor, a filter, a storyteller. Let's pull back the curtain on 5 mental distortions that quietly and powerfully shape your version of reality. 1. Availability heuristic. Let's begin with fear. You hear about a terrorist attack on the news, a mass shooting, an airline disaster. You feel anxious, alert. You avoid flights, crowds, certain places, and your mind whispers, it could happen to you. But statistically, it's unlikely, incredibly unlikely. You're more at risk eating processed food than walking through an airport. More danger in your own habits than in strangers on a plane. But your brain doesn't care about probability. It cares about emotional intensity. It's drawn to what's vivid, not what's true. This is the availability heuristic, your brain's habit of overestimating the importance of things that are recent, dramatic, or emotionally charged. If you've seen it recently, or it scared you, your brain ranks it high on the danger list. It's why we fear shark attacks more than slipping in the shower. Why we remember the plane crash but forget the thousands of lives saved by routine landings. The availability heuristic isn't malicious. It evolved to keep us alive. But in a world saturated with headlines and viral fear, it means your brain is constantly feeding you a warped image of reality. Your mind doesn't show you what's common. It shows you what's clickable. 2. Authority bias. Now imagine someone in a lab coat tells you to take a pill. Or a professor explains something with absolute certainty. Or a billionaire makes a bold prediction. Do you question it? Or does your mind lean forward, just a little, and listen? That's authority bias, the unconscious tendency to trust those in positions of perceived power, prestige, or expertise, even when they're wrong. Psychologist Stanley Milgram once ran a famous experiment. Participants were told, by a man in a lab coat, to administer electric shocks to another person. Most complied. They kept pressing the button, even as the other person screamed. Why? Because someone with authority told them it was okay. This wasn't a one-off result. It exposed something disturbing about human psychology. We trust authority, sometimes more than we trust our own conscience. In today's world, authority bias shows up in more subtle ways. We believe influencers because they're popular. We agree with CEOs because they're rich. We quote scientists without understanding their research. But confidence is not competence. And having a platform doesn't mean someone deserves your trust. Your brain is wired to respect power, but wisdom means learning to ask, do they deserve this power over my thinking? 3. Fundamental attribution error. Imagine you're walking through a crowded mall. Someone bumps into you, doesn't apologize, keeps walking. Instantly, your mind fills in the blanks. They're rude, entitled, probably like this all the time. But when you bump into someone, you were in a rush. You didn't see them. It was an accident. That's the fundamental attribution error, the human tendency to explain others' actions by their personality, but explain your own by circumstance. They're late because they're disorganized. You're late because there was traffic. They failed because they're lazy. You failed because the system was unfair. This bias is seductive because it makes you the exception. It preserves your self-image, even at the cost of empathy. But what if you're wrong? What if that rude stranger was grieving? What if that lazy student has undiagnosed ADHD? What if you're missing context, not because you're careless, but because your brain assumes it knows enough? The fundamental attribution error turns humans into caricatures. It flattens complexity. And it makes the world easier to judge, but harder to understand. 4. Halo effect. Now imagine you meet someone who's stunning, charming, stylish. They speak eloquently, smile often. What do you assume? That they're kind, smart, morally good? That's the halo effect. It's your brain's habit of taking one positive trait and spreading its glow over everything else. It works in reverse too. If someone annoys you, you might assume they're also selfish, untrustworthy, or ignorant, even if you have no evidence. The halo effect distorts your ability to judge fairly. It blurs the lines between how someone makes you feel and who they really are. In politics, this is why we fall for charisma over character. In relationships, why we overlook red flags. In courtrooms, why attractive defendants get lighter sentences. The halo effect is seductive because it's fast. It lets you build a mental model of someone in seconds. But people are not one-dimensional, and truth doesn't glow. It requires closer inspection and uncomfortable nuance. 5. False consensus effect. And finally, the most ego-flattering lie of all, that most people think like you do. Your values? Common sense. Your views? Logical. Your preferences? Basically universal. This is the false consensus effect. Your brain's assumption that your way of thinking is not just yours, but normal. It's why we're shocked when people disagree. Why we dismiss opposing ideas as ignorant. Why we confuse "my friends believe this" with "everyone believes this." Social media amplifies this distortion. You're fed posts that align with your views. You see likes, retweets, shares, and think, see? I'm right. Everyone sees it. But the internet is a mirror, not a window. It shows you more of yourself, not more of the world. The false consensus effect is dangerous because it breeds arrogance, dismisses dialogue, and hardens ideology. Humility begins with accepting this. Your beliefs are not the center of gravity. They're just one orbit among billions. So far, we've exposed 15 lies your brain tells you daily. Some protect your ego. Some keep you comfortable. And others, like these, shape how you see truth itself. But there's still one final category. One last layer where the lies get personal. They don't just change how you see the world, they change how you see yourself. Let's step into the most intimate battlefield of all, the lies that shape your identity. Time, as we experience it, feels continuous, steady, a simple progression from past to present to future. Yet, your brain treats time not like a reliable clock, but more like a storyteller who changes the plot with every retelling, editing, deleting, highlighting, and sometimes outright fabricating parts of your life story. The memories you cherish, those moments you think you remember just as they happened, are often edited, reinterpreted, or even invented after the fact. Your future plans, those detailed timelines you set with such conviction, are colored by hope, optimism, and sometimes dangerous denial. Understanding these distortions is crucial because your perception of time shapes your identity, your choices, and ultimately, your reality. Today, we will explore the 5 cognitive biases, mental shortcuts, and tricks your brain uses that hijack your experience of time and memory. They don't just fool you once or twice. They operate daily, quietly influencing how you remember, plan, and dream. Let's begin. 1. Hindsight bias. Have you ever experienced that unsettling moment after something unexpected happens and thought to yourself, I knew that was going to happen? That gut feeling of certainty after the fact is called hindsight bias. It's the brain's clever way of imposing order on chaos. After an event unfolds, your mind reconstructs your memory of what you predicted, smoothing over uncertainty and doubt to create a false narrative of foresight. This makes you feel smarter, more in control, more capable. But beneath that comforting illusion lies a harsh truth. You did not predict the outcome. You were just as clueless as anyone else. By tricking you into believing you knew all along, hindsight bias blurs the line between knowledge and guesswork. And this blurring is dangerous. If you think you're always right after the fact, you stop questioning your decisions and assumptions. You close yourself off from learning. Mistakes become forgotten lessons, and growth stalls. It's a bias that rewrites your personal history, trading accuracy for comfort and truth for certainty. 2. Cognitive dissonance. Now imagine a mental tug-of-war inside your mind. You value honesty deeply, but you just lied to someone you care about. You want to live healthily, yet you find yourself binge-eating junk food late at night. This clash between your beliefs and actions creates a profound psychological discomfort called cognitive dissonance. Your brain, ever the peacekeeper, works tirelessly to resolve this inner conflict. It conjures justifications, excuses, and rationalizations, spinning new narratives that align your actions with your values. Maybe you tell yourself, it was a harmless lie, or I needed that treat after a stressful day. Suddenly, the dissonance fades. You feel whole again. But what you've actually done is trade truth for ease. Your brain edits your story to maintain a consistent self-image and protect you from painful contradictions. While this eases mental discomfort, it can also stunt personal growth by allowing you to overlook patterns of self-sabotage and avoid facing uncomfortable realities. 3. Planning fallacy. Have you ever ambitiously planned a project, only to find it took twice as long, cost more, and demanded more energy than you expected? You're not alone. This is the planning fallacy, the brain's systematic tendency to underestimate how much time, effort, or resources future tasks will require. It's not a simple mistake or lack of knowledge. Instead, it's your mind's hopeful projection into the future, painting an idealized, optimistic scenario. Your brain wants the future to be manageable and neat because hope is a powerful motivator. This optimism propels you forward, helps you start new ventures, and keeps you striving toward goals. Yet, reality rarely conforms to these tidy plans. Unexpected obstacles, distractions, and complexities emerge, shattering your well-laid schedules. The disappointment that follows often feels like failure, but it's really the brain's struggle to balance hope with realism. 4. Peak end rule. Think back to your last big experience, a vacation, a party, or even a difficult conversation. Do you remember every moment? Probably not. Instead, your brain compresses the entire experience into a few key memories. The peak, the most emotionally intense moment, and the end, how it finished. This cognitive shortcut is called the peak-end rule. It's an efficient way for your brain to summarize complex experiences without overwhelming you with details. But it also distorts reality. A vacation might be remembered fondly because of a magical sunset, even if most days were uneventful or stressful. Conversely, a generally good event can feel soured by a bad ending. This bias influences not only how you remember but how you make decisions. You seek to recreate peak moments and positive endings, sometimes overlooking the bigger, messier picture. 5. Optimism bias. Finally, let's peer into the future, your imagined tomorrow. You likely believe you are less at risk of misfortune than others. You think you'll live longer, be healthier, more successful. This is optimism bias, your brain's tendency to overestimate favorable outcomes and underestimate risks. Optimism bias isn't just naive wishful thinking. It's a vital psychological tool. It fuels motivation, resilience, and the courage to take risks. Without it, progress would stall under the weight of fear and doubt. Yet, unchecked, it blinds you to real dangers and the need for preparation. You walk forward with a rose-colored lens, vulnerable to shocks that catch you unprepared. So, my friends, don't have the optimism bias. These 5 biases, hindsight bias, cognitive dissonance, planning fallacy, peak-end rule, and optimism bias, are your brain's secret editors of time and memory. They rewrite your past, distort your present, and paint your future with hues both hopeful and misleading. Your mind doesn't merely record your life. It interprets it, weaving stories that protect you, comfort you, and sometimes deceive you. But now that you've uncovered these hidden lies, you hold a powerful tool. You can begin to recognize when your memories have been altered, when your plans are too optimistic, when your hope needs grounding. With this awareness, you start reclaiming your story, living with sharper clarity, wiser insight, and a deeper understanding of how your mind shapes your reality. The truth is complex, uncomfortable, and often surprising. But it is freedom. Your brain lies, yes. But now you know how and why. And that changes everything. None of this means you're broken. It means you're human. Your brain evolved these patterns for survival, for comfort, for managing an unpredictable world. But then, the world we live in now is vastly different from the one our ancestors faced. The same mental shortcuts and protective lies that once kept us safe can now trap us, limit us, and distort our reality in ways that hold us back. Awareness is the key. Just knowing about these biases, seeing them clearly, opens a door to freedom. It lets you pause, question, and choose differently. You're not a prisoner of your mind's tricks. You are its master. And that shift in perspective can change everything. So, here's a question for you. Which of these lies do you feel runs your life the most? Is it the need to protect your ego, the comfort of staying safe, the distortions in how you see the world, or the ways your brain rewrites your memories? Comment below and let me know. Be honest with yourself. And if you caught yourself believing more than 5 of these lies, well, welcome to the club. You're far from alone. If you want to keep uncovering the hidden truths your brain won't tell you, hit subscribe and join this journey with me. There's so much more to discover, and your mind will never be the same.